The Social Security number underwriting features a comprehensive discussion on the topic of Social Security and the concept of revoking its underwriting. The speaker, identified only by their voice, delves into the distinctions between public and civil realms, emphasizing the importance of understanding one's status and rights within these frameworks. The video explores themes like the commercial commerce court system, the role of underwriting in legal and financial documents, and the implications of being an undersigner. Throughout the extensive dialogue, the speaker references various legal concepts, historical contexts, and even movies to provide examples of how these systems function and impact individuals. There is a strong focus on the idea of reclaiming control over one's assets and legal identity by revoking the use of personal documents as collateral in the public realm. Participants in the discussion raise questions and share insights, contributing to a deep exploration of the topic with references to personal experiences and broader social structures. The conversation is punctuated by instructions on procedural aspects, such as engaging with certain forms or notifying appropriate institutions. 1. Introduction to negotiable debt instruments. Negotiable debt instruments are financial contracts like promissory notes, bonds, or other written obligations that promise payment to a bearer or a specified party. These instruments function as a means of commerce, enabling transactions without immediate cash exchange. They are governed by laws under the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, and Title 12 of the U.S. Code. 2. Title 12, United States Code, Section 411. This section of the U.S. Code outlines that Federal Reserve Notes, FRNs, are legal tender for all debts, public and private. However, these notes cannot be redeemed for gold or silver, which creates a fundamental shift in how money is perceived post-1933, emphasizing the promise to pay over tangible backing. 3. Redeeming debt instruments and legal limitations. Debt cannot be redeemed with another form of debt. For instance, FRNs, considered promissory notes, cannot lawfully discharge another debt. The practice of using such instruments perpetuates the debt cycle instead of achieving true settlement. Legal limitations exist to ensure that actual value or tangible assets are used in financial transactions, which is no longer the norm after the removal of gold and silver backing. 4. Historical context, House Resolution 182 and post-1933 money. In 1933, House Resolution 182 marked a significant economic change by replacing gold and silver as the standard for money. This move allowed the Federal Reserve to issue paper currency without intrinsic value, backed only by public confidence. The resolution established a system where money represents a promise to pay, rather than a tangible asset. 5. Stop and discharge in economic systems. The process of stop allows individuals or entities to balance liabilities with credits they hold, essentially canceling out debts. Discharge refers to the complete resolution of a financial obligation. Both principles aim to resolve debts without perpetuating financial liabilities but often require specific legal processes and instruments, such as UCC filings or structured agreements. 6. Title 12 Banking Regulations. Title 12 of the U.S. Code governs the operations of banks and banking systems in the United States. It includes provisions on the issuance of currency, the responsibilities of financial institutions, and the limits of their operations, such as the prohibition on lending credit. These regulations ensure stability and legal oversight of banking practices. 7. Public versus private entities in commerce. Commerce operates on two levels, public and private. Public entities, such as U.S. citizens under the 14th Amendment, are subject to federal and state laws. Private entities, often associated with natural persons or secured parties, can operate outside some of these constraints if their contracts and instruments are properly established and recognized under UCC guidelines. 8. Role of the United States citizen in public and private capacities. A U.S. citizen, as defined under the 14th Amendment, has a dual role in financial systems. Public capacity, represented by documents like Social Security cards and driver's licenses, which link individuals to government obligations and benefits. Private capacity, recognizes the individual as a natural person with inherent rights. Establishing private status often involves filing documents like UCC-1 financing statements to reclaim personal authority over assets and liabilities. 9. Security interests and the role of UCC-1 filings. A UCC-1 financing statement is a legal document used to establish a creditor's claim to a debtor's collateral under the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC. Filing a UCC-1 is crucial for securing a creditor's priority claim on assets in case of default. For individuals, this filing can be used to assert control over personal property, clarify ownership, and shield assets from unauthorized claims. It designates the filer as a secured party, thereby distinguishing them from general debtors. 10. The importance of security agreements. Security agreements are binding contracts between a debtor and a creditor, defining the terms of collateralization. By registering the security agreement in conjunction with a UCC-1 filing, a secured party protects their interest in the assets listed in the agreement. These documents are essential for asserting first-in-time, first-in-line rights, ensuring priority in case of disputes or legal claims. 11. Commercial liens and secured party creditor rights. A commercial lien is a legal claim against property to satisfy a debt or obligation. Secured parties can file liens to protect their interests, especially when they have documented their claims through security agreements and UCC filings. These liens can prevent unauthorized transfers or encumbrances on the property, ensuring creditors' rights are respected in commercial or court proceedings. 12. Navigating court systems as a secured party. When involved in legal disputes, secured parties must assert their status effectively. Judges and administrators will assess claims based on documentation, including the UCC-1 filing, security agreements, and counterclaims. Rule 13 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure emphasizes the importance of counterclaims, allowing defendants to assert related claims to offset liabilities. Secured parties must also challenge the jurisdiction or authority of courts by presenting their perfected claims. 13. The concept of strawman and public identity. The strawman is a legal construct representing the all-capital letter version of a person's name, used in government-issued identification and legal documents. This entity is distinct from the natural person and serves as the public-facing entity tied to obligations such as taxes or debts. By separating from the strawman through legal filings, individuals can assert their natural person status, thus reducing liability for the obligations associated with the strawman. 14. The role of counterclaims in legal disputes. Counterclaims serve as a defendant's tool to offset liabilities or assert rights in legal disputes. Federal Rule 13 distinguishes between mandatory and permissive counterclaims. Mandatory counterclaims arise from the same transaction as the plaintiff's claim. Permissive counterclaims are not directly related but can still be raised. Counterclaims are vital for individuals challenging debt-related claims or asserting their secured party rights. 15. Banking practices and the myth of loaned credit. Banks operate within specific limitations, governed by Title 12 and case law precedents. They are prohibited from lending their credit or acting as sureties. When banks extend loans, they often monetize promissory notes signed by borrowers rather than using actual reserves. This practice highlights the importance of understanding banking laws and asserting the right to access accurate accounting. 16. Promissory notes and their legal significance. A promissory note is a financial instrument representing a borrower's promise to repay a lender. When signed, the note becomes an asset for the lender and a liability for the borrower. However, many borrowers remain unaware that their signature creates value, which banks leverage to generate credit. Understanding this process allows individuals to challenge misrepresented obligations or assert their rights to the note's equity. 17. The role of bonds and sureties in financial obligations. Bonds serve as instruments of guarantee in financial systems, securing performance or repayment obligations. In many cases, individuals act as sureties for their strawman entities, unknowingly binding themselves to liabilities. Secured parties can release themselves from these obligations by filing appropriate UCC documentation and challenging unauthorized claims against their estates. 18. Tax obligations and the role of the IRS. The IRS operates as the federal agency tasked with collecting taxes and enforcing tax laws. However, understanding the private and public distinctions of financial accounts is essential for those asserting secured party creditor rights. Filing forms such as the IRS Form 56, Notice Concerning Fiduciary Relationship, can help individuals designate themselves as fiduciaries over their strawman estates, thereby asserting control over tax obligations and liabilities. 19. Discharging debt through UCC processes. Debt discharge involves offsetting liabilities using the tools provided under the UCC. By filing a UCC-1 financing statement and perfecting claims through security agreements, individuals can assert their rights to discharge debts via staff or recoupment. This process often involves sending properly endorsed negotiable instruments, such as promissory notes or payment coupons, to the appropriate entities for settlement. 20. Special deposits and the role of banks. Special deposits are funds placed in bank accounts for a specific purpose, requiring the bank to act as a fiduciary. By marking deposits as special, secured parties can ensure that the funds are used exclusively for settling debts. Proper documentation, including instructions on trust indentures, helps safeguard these transactions and ensures compliance with fiduciary obligations. 21. Understanding foreclosures and recourse options. Foreclosures often arise when borrowers default on mortgage obligations. However, secured parties can challenge these proceedings by filing liens, asserting claims of superior interest, or disputing the legitimacy of the debt. Tools such as the UCC-1 filing and security agreements can prevent unlawful property transfers and protect individuals' rights. 22. International Monetary Fund, IMF, and global banking systems. The IMF plays a critical role in global financial systems, particularly in regulating the monetary policies of member nations. Many financial transactions, including those involving Federal Reserve notes, are tied to the IMF. Secured parties should understand how international laws and treaties impact their claims and ensure compliance with relevant regulations when asserting rights across jurisdictions. 23. Birth certificates and the concept of trusts. Birth certificates often serve as the foundational documents for creating a strawman entity. These certificates are effectively securities held in trust by the government. By authenticating birth certificates and asserting control over the associated trust accounts, individuals can reclaim their status as natural persons and mitigate liabilities tied to the strawman. 24. The use of registered mail in filing claims. Registered mail provides a secure and trackable way to send critical documents, ensuring they are received and acknowledged by the intended parties. When filing claims, sending documents via registered mail creates a paper trail that can serve as evidence in legal or financial disputes. This practice is essential for filings with the IRS, banks, or courts. 25. Handling monthly bills and payment coupons. Monthly bills often come with detachable payment coupons that act as negotiable instruments. By endorsing these coupons properly and including instructions for special deposits, secured parties can initiate staff or discharge processes. However, it is essential to comply with banking laws and maintain accurate records of these transactions. 26. Fiduciary appointments and trustee roles. Appointing fiduciaries is a critical step in managing trusts and estates. By filing forms such as the IRS Form 56 and issuing fiduciary appointment documents, individuals can designate trustees to handle their financial affairs. These appointments clarify roles and responsibilities, ensuring that fiduciaries act in the best interest of the secured party. 27. The power of counterclaims and federal rules of civil procedure. Counterclaims are potent tools for asserting rights in legal disputes. Federal rules of civil procedure, particularly Rule 13, provide guidelines for raising counterclaims, which can include demands for staff, recoupment, or damages. Secured parties should ensure that counterclaims are well documented and directly address the issues raised by opposing parties. 28. Creating and utilizing promissory notes. Promissory notes are financial instruments that can be used to settle debts or provide credit. Secured parties can create promissory notes backed by their security agreements and use them in commercial transactions. Properly registering these notes under the UCC ensures their enforceability and protects the rights of the issuer. 29. Trusts, probates, and estate management. Trusts and probates play a significant role in managing assets and liabilities. Secured parties can establish trusts to manage their estates and designate executors to oversee their affairs. Collapsing trusts through probate processes allows individuals to reclaim assets and dissolve unnecessary liabilities. 30. Leveraging IRS processes for debt relief. The IRS offers several tools, including Form 1041, Income Tax Return for Estates and Trusts, to assist with managing debts and reclaiming funds. Secured parties can use these forms to assert rights to recoupments, settle obligations, and document transactions. Building a relationship with IRS agents and understanding their processes is critical for navigating these systems effectively. 31. Federal Reserve Notes and the lack of intrinsic value. Federal Reserve Notes, the primary currency in circulation, lack intrinsic value and serve as promissory notes. Understanding this concept is critical for secured parties, as it underscores the need to offset liabilities using negotiable instruments or staff processes rather than relying solely on currency. 32. Spiritual and philosophical aspects of sovereignty. A recurring theme in secured party processes is the emphasis on spiritual growth and self-awareness. Recognizing one's sovereignty and the power of consent is integral to asserting rights. This perspective encourages individuals to act from a place of knowledge, integrity, and compassion while navigating complex financial systems. 33. The Law of Nations and its relevance. The Law of Nations, once a fundamental teaching in schools, outlines the principles governing relationships among sovereign states. Its decline in education correlates with a diminished public understanding of sovereignty and individual rights. Secured parties can draw on these principles to assert their natural person status and challenge unlawful encroachments on their rights. 34. Challenging jurisdiction in court. Jurisdiction is a critical issue in legal proceedings. Secured parties can challenge jurisdiction by asserting their standing as natural persons and questioning the court's authority to act over them. Tools such as Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 12b allow for challenges to subject matter jurisdiction, ensuring that courts cannot unlawfully adjudicate cases involving sovereign individuals. 35. Banking procedures and the role of the IMF. Understanding banking operations is essential for navigating the financial system. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, oversees global monetary policies, and its influence extends to domestic banking practices. Secured parties can leverage this knowledge to challenge improper banking activities and ensure compliance with international standards. 36. Settling debts with special drawing rights. Special drawing rights, SDRs, issued by the IMF represent an international reserve asset used to settle debts among member nations. While SDRs are not directly available to individuals, understanding their role in the global economy helps secured parties contextualize how debts are discharged at the macroeconomic level and apply similar principles in personal finance. 37. The use of affidavits in financial and legal claims. Affidavits are sworn statements of fact used to assert claims in legal and financial matters. Secured parties can use affidavits to declare their rights, contest liabilities, and document the facts of their case. Ensuring affidavits are properly formatted, notarized, and submitted strengthens their credibility and enforceability. 38. Creating contracts and agreements in commerce. Contract law is central to all commerce. Secured parties must understand the elements of a valid contract: offer, acceptance, consideration, and mutual consent, to create enforceable agreements. Customizing contracts to include protective clauses, such as disclaimers and indemnities, ensures fair dealings and safeguards against exploitation. 39. Accepting for value and honoring agreements. The principle of accepting for value involves agreeing to settle claims upon proof of their validity. Secured parties can use this process to resolve disputes while remaining honorable and within the law. This approach not only demonstrates good faith but also shifts the burden of proof to the opposing party. 40. Maintaining integrity in commercial transactions. Acting with integrity is vital for success in secured party processes. Whether dealing with banks, courts, or creditors, maintaining transparency, adhering to ethical standards, and documenting all interactions fosters trust and minimizes the risk of disputes. 41. Spiritual growth and self-mastery and financial freedom. Secured party processes are not just about financial mechanisms but also about personal transformation. Understanding one's spiritual and sovereign nature empowers individuals to navigate complex systems with confidence. This holistic approach integrates financial independence with personal growth and responsibility.